Just before the final game of their 2023 season, the Edmonton Elks made an announcement. Starting next year, they will be closing off the top bowl of Commonwealth Stadium. In effect, they're cutting their stadium in half. "1978 was a banner year for Edmonton. The city became the first in Western Canada to implement a rapid transit system. The first North American light rail transit system ever implemented in a city with less than 1 million people. And at that time, we didn't even have 500,000. It opened with 5 stops. Belvedere to Coliseum, Churchill to Central. And right in the middle, a stop at a destination built as part of Edmonton's hosting of the 1978 Commonwealth Games.
Great moments. There'll be more when CBC covers the Edmonton Commonwealth Games in August.
It was Canada's newest stadium. It was Canada's largest stadium, a record that still stands today. It was Commonwealth Stadium. Look, I'll admit it, I'm what you call a casual sports fan. I don't follow any team very closely, but I sure as heck cheer for Edmonton as a city, and that includes wanting success for our teams. I can't speak to exactly why the Elks think this change needs to be made, but the official word from the organization is that this is the, and I quote, key to enhancing game day atmosphere and rebuilding our home field advantage by bringing our fans closer to the action. In other words, spectators are too spread out. And yeah, I get it. In 1982, Edmonton's football club garnered average crowds of around 58,000 people. This year, it's less than half of that. So if they sit spread across a 56,000 plus capacity stadium, that's more empty seats than full. So why not put all the empty seats up top and bring everyone down? Well, I'll tell you why not. Because I like the top. To me, this isn't about the team really. I'm not bothered by draft picks or name changes, and it's not even about the performance on the field, though again, I do root for their success. No, to me, this is about Edmonton. When I was just a kid growing up here, every so often my dad would take me and my brother out to Commonwealth Stadium. I was too young to care about football, but it was an event. We'd get to ride on the train, see the underground tunnels and stations. We'd listen to the dings and the announcements of the stop names as we traversed the line.
Corona station. Corona.
And then it would appear. More so than its sheer size, I think it's the concrete. That brutalist construction that feels so efficient, so functional. As a kid, this place felt indescribably massive. And of course, being a kid, when you see something that big, you want one thing: to be at the top. And you know what? I never grew out of that. So when I heard this announcement about closing of the Upper Bowl, I took it like a punch to the gut. This was personal. Why would they do this to me? It wasn't all that long ago that I had season tickets for this team. It was only for a couple seasons before a young family took up much of my time, but I'll let you guess where they were. Top row of the Upper Bowl. This is a picture I took from those seats. But it's not entirely about my nostalgia or the fact that I never fully grew up. There's a lot to like about the Upper Bowl. There's something to be said about being able to sit without anyone around you. A huge part of attending an Elks game is the atmosphere. There's something about it that feels so different than a hockey game. It's more down to earth. Maybe because it's outside. Maybe because the entire facility feels so utilitarian. Maybe it's because it doesn't cost over $1,000 to bring a family of 4 to a game. I don't know. But the atmosphere is great. People get into it. You hear the horns and the bells, and that's a big part of it. But maybe I don't want to sit directly adjacent to a cowbell. It's fine if you do, but I like having the option. Going hand in hand with that, football and baseball games have always felt like a very social event to me. Being able to relax in your seat and casually chat with your group is, for many, a huge part of the appeal. So yeah, the Upper Bowl affords patrons that space, that separation from others, room to breathe. Do you know what I really like the most from the second level? The view of the game. Personally, I'm happy to trade off being close to the action for a more aerial view of the play. You don't have to sit quite so far up as I did either. I would argue that the best seats in Commonwealth Stadium are the first few rows of the upper bowl. But now, you won't get that option. You'll need to find a good spot in the lower bowl. Don't get me wrong, they certainly do exist, but you can forget about having space to yourself. If you want that, you must sacrifice some of that great view by moving further down the field, or maybe moving closer and losing that elevated view of the game. I do wonder as well, how are they going to enforce this? Since their goal is to get everyone sitting together, I'm sure they will enforce it, but how?
You have 20 seconds to comply.
They won't be boarding up the upper entrances permanently or anything. We know this because there's a spark of hope for that upper bowl. The Elks have stated that for select games, like playoff games and the Labor Day rematch, tickets for the upper bowl might still be sold. How do they police seating then? Does that mean if there's still seats available in the lower bowl, you'll be forced to buy this low altitude end zone seat, knowing that those spectacular front row upper bowl seats are coming out later on? And what if you're at a game where those upper bowl seats are available? Will staff prevent you from going all the way to the top? That would break my heart as a kid. There's just a lot of what ifs and what abouts that I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. And yet, having said all of that, I get it. The crowds are too spread out. It makes it feel much more empty than it actually is. I think there's merit to what they're trying to do here, at least if you take into consideration that their goal is to bring the crowd closer to and more involved with what's going on in the field. And with the lower attendance than what they once had, I suppose they don't have much of a choice. Plus, I'll say this, you can get season tickets to the Elks for $175. You'd be lucky to get into a single Oilers game for that. So I'm not trying to badmouth the Elks here. I do support them and I want them to do well. I'm just having trouble coming to terms with the fact that I won't be able to sit in my favorite seats. So the next time you find yourself in or around the home of the Elks, stop and think back. Remember when the stadium alone was a fifth of available destinations on Edmonton's light rail transit system. Reflect on the altitude of those upper seats and the fact that they were built for the Commonwealth Games. And remember that for over 40 years, football fans in Edmonton have called Canada's largest stadium home to their green and gold. Remember, Commonwealth Stadium. And by the way, Commonwealth actually had built into it a $50,000 washroom for the Queen. Check out that story here. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe and give it a like. You can support the channel on Patreon or even here on YouTube. And why not check out one of my other videos? Mostly about the greatest indoor show on earth, West Edmonton Mall. Oh, and thanks for watching.